Hey folks, this is Rhykker with some gameplay footage of Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Last week, I got to attend a secret press event and get some hands-on time with this third installment in the rebooted Tomb Raider trilogy. I previously got to attend a reveal event for this game a few months ago, and I made a video of my impressions, but I was not allowed to show any gameplay footage back then. But this time, I am. Now, the footage we'll be looking at was provided by the devs, but this is true to the content that I played. It is representative of my experiences. Well, a small fraction of it at least. So the event itself started with a presentation by creative director Daniel Chaillet, and it's always a pleasure to hear him talk about the game. His passion is so infectious. And then we just dove into a solid 3.5 hours of gaming. So our last video covered the beginning of the game, which involves Lara trying to retrieve an ancient Mayan dagger before the villainous Trinity mercenary organization can get it, only for her to discover that upon grabbing the dagger, she has triggered a Mayan apocalypse and now must go about fixing things. So in this first scene that I have to show you here today, this was from the first demo that I played months ago. This is actual gameplay, this is not a cutscene. The UI is going to be hidden in this gameplay footage that we were given, but this otherwise is actual gameplay. There are some really claustrophobic scenes in this game. Not very often, but whenever I'd see Lara struggling to squeeze through these tight spaces, I couldn't help but feel a certain tightness in my chest. Just a small degree of anxiety. I feel it's just a really good portrayal of spelunking and the inherent dangers that come with it. Now in this next scene, this is the first inclined axe wall climb in this game. This is still from the first demo that I played months ago. And just the feeling of being on the incline really made my stomach rise. Just made me feel like I can fall so easily relative to a regular vertical climb. And then this last jump here up onto the ledge really feels like you're about to fall backwards. And then once she climbs to the top here, we see a beam of light leading to what I believe is the first Mayan ruin in the game. And this is what leads to that big development that we discussed. Lara finding the dagger, seeing a bunch of ancient Mayan warnings, basically the equivalent of do not touch may cause apocalypse, but she grabs it anyway. You know, like, don't worry, it's not the end of the world. So later on in the gameplay, we're riding a plane with Jonah and a pilot. This footage here is from the Tomb Raider YouTube channel, but I'm just showing it to give you guys some context. Now and again, I'll throw in some contextual clips from the YouTube channel, just to help gel things together. And I have to mention that during these cutscenes, man, the facial animations are good. They're so believable and expressive. Yeah, the hair is still kinda wonky sometimes and it takes you out of things a bit, but I believe I heard word that they may be working on that. So we'll see what things look like on release. But anyway, the plane goes down. Lara survives, and now is trying to find Jonah and the pilot as everyone's landed in a different place apparently, when she sees this signal flare. And this is just a gorgeous vista. It really gives a great sense of scale and space. And in general, this game has some really impressive vistas. Now, this scene is shortly after the launching of the flare. There are parts of the game called Traversals. I think in the olden days we would just call it platforming. Basically, you can loosely break down the gameplay into 3 big segments, which would be the Traversals, which is traversing the environment in a way that requires you to use your skills to not fall. Puzzles, which require you to use your intelligence in some way to get past. These often kind of are combined. Puzzles tend to include traversal elements. And then, of course, there's combat where you have to use your skills to kill enemies, be it quick time events or button mashing or just outright aiming. Now, in this segment here, we're trying to find a sharp object to use as a knife. We've located the downed airplane that we flew in on, and we figured a piece of the airplane's propeller could be sharpened into a knife. We tried to get it, but then the airplane moved and fell into a lake, so now we're swimming underwater to get that piece of propeller, when suddenly we're attacked by an eel. Thankfully, he's no match for a quicktime event. Or was it button mashing? One or the other. Alright, the next scene comes right after this rather stressful scene where we're basically assaulted by 2 jaguars. Here are snippets of the segment that you can find on YouTube. So basically we find the pilot, who's very dead and seems to have been mauled by an animal. We find the jaguar that probably killed the pilot, and as we're stalking this jaguar, a second jaguar pounces on us, and we just barely manage to stab it in the head before it gets to eat our brains. Then the other jaguar retreats ahead of us, and now in this scene we're stalking through the jungle, and it's very stressful because we see and we hear the jaguar sneaking around ahead as though it's about to pounce at any moment. Now after this comes a puzzle. Can't show you gameplay of this, but we do have this screenshot. This puzzle definitely made me think. I like puzzles, and the puzzles in this game reminds me of playing games back in the 90s. You know, when you'd have walkthroughs, because sometimes the puzzles would be just too difficult. You'd get stumped, so you'd go look up a walkthrough online. No videos back then, it was all text write-ups on what to do, and you had to interpret the writing. So I got some nice nostalgia from that. Oh, and as you can see, we found Jonah at this point. I'll also mention at this point that I've enjoyed all the puzzles in this game. Here's a tiny snippet of one that they show on the YouTube channel. There are plenty of puzzles, which also, again, tend to include traversal elements, and these probably form my favorite part of the gameplay. I'd say the two things I've been enjoying most in Shadow of the Tomb Raider are the story and the puzzles. And in this next sequence, Jonah is helping us take out some Trinity bad guys. There's quite a variety of stealth kill options in this game, and stealth is a pretty important part of combat. Often, if you don't go the stealthy route, you just die. So you have to plan out how you're going to engage a group of enemies. You gotta pay attention to their behavioral patterns, be it their patrol routes, or you gotta look at what direction they're facing, whether you can kill one dude without the other dudes noticing, and there's a bunch of in-game signals to help you with all this. It's not just guesswork on your part. This scene here follows immediately after. This vehicle is the same vehicle we saw in the previous scene. We've crawled under it, hiding from baddies so that we can kill more baddies. Sometimes we'll be hiding in some brush and an enemy will come real close with his gun and you're just like, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap. But then you get that stealth kill prompt and bam, you just take him out and it's all good. Unless another enemy sees you killing him. Then it's not all good. Some of these goons have helmets. They pose a problem for headshotting. You can often use a bow to stealthily kill an enemy from range. One-shot headshot. But helmets kinda get in the way of that. Oh, and I think it was sometime around this time that I was walking through some deep mud, and as you're walking through it, you leave a path in the mud. If you've played the previous Tomb Raider games, it's similar to when you'd walk through snow and leave a trail in the snow, but I just love these little details, and anytime I have the opportunity to, I try to draw patterns in the snow or the mud, and I'm just very mature that way. In this next scene, we finally arrive in the town of Kuakiaku. This part is a cinematic, this isn't gameplay. And this is where we meet Abby, who informs us that Trinity has already been here, and takes us to a temple.
Definitely not.
I need a break anyway. Come with me.
In this next scene, we're walking through the town. It's a nice little hub. There are NPCs you can talk to. There's even side quests. This gameplay footage in particular includes far less of the things that I tend to do, which is running around, jumping over people's heads, you know, trying to hardcore parkour like a crazy person. In this scene, we're still walking through the town. I believe we just passed a place where you can pick up a side quest, but that may have been elsewhere. And in this scene, we're finally walking out of the town and to the temple.
Jonah, I found Incan ruins, but I think the foundation of the temple is older.
Yeah, Abby remembered where she saw that symbol. It's inside the temple somewhere.
Great. Tell her thank you for me.
I'm right here. You can thank me by not breaking anything.
I like how Jonah chuckles nervously here, like, haha, oh shit, Lara broke a whole town last time. Now this underwater scene here comes after we completed a puzzle in the temple. Again, can't show you the puzzle, but it was really cool. Again, makes you think. It involved Mayan numbers, the numerals, and finding correct sequences, and you can possibly brute force your way through it, given a rather large amount of trial and error, but if you use your noggin, you'll figure it out. As for this underwater scene, as I was playing through this, I saw what I believed to be a school of happy fish. So I wanted to go swim through the school of cute, happy fish to see how the AI and physics would react. And as I swam through the school of cute, colorful, happy fish, they suddenly started eating me. They were not happy fish. They were very angry piranhas. So as you're traversing this underwater section, you have to avoid the piranhas. Also, you have to avoid drowning. And you have to find your way out. There are places underwater, pockets of air where you can go catch your breath. And when I'm doing these underwater segments, I find myself holding my breath. And the in-game cues really make you feel like you're running out of air, and you need to rush to find that air pocket. Again, the game just does a really good job at making us feel the dangers of all this exploration. Then this last scene here shows a pretty cool stealth kill method. In general, this whole encounter was a tough fight. There's a lot of enemies here to kill. The footage we're seeing really is just a teaser. And combat in general was a real challenge for me on controller. We had to play this on controller. I am and always have been a PC gamer. On PC, I'd imagine that the difficulty of the combats would be reasonable, but the combat in this game is definitely not brainlessly easy. Now, apparently you can independently change the difficulty of puzzles, exploration, and combat. So for instance, if you put exploration on hard, then the white paint that shows you where to go, that gives you hints of, okay, you should be climbing here, that'll go away, for instance. Now, at the very end of our gameplay demo was something called the Eagle Challenge. We see snippets of it in the official YouTube videos, and I unfortunately didn't have time to fully complete it, but it looks really cool and really fun. I'll also mention that in general, all the Mayan stuff is just really cool. It's really thematic, and it gets really grim and gruesome at times, because that culture just celebrated, just worshipped death. Oh, and one last thing I'll mention, the game has retro skins. I can't show them to you, but we're talking full-on, low-poly Lara Croft, and it's just hilarious. So Shadow of the Tomb Raider is releasing September 14th, and I'm really looking forward to playing it on PC with a keyboard and mouse, because I am hopeless with the controller. The Jaguar's coming at me just dead center, and I'm trying to aim at it with my bow, and I'm just going left, right, left, right. I just can't wait to get revenge on all the animals and mercenaries that I couldn't properly aim at because the only console I own is a Super Nintendo. And that's gonna wrap up today's video. If you want more information on Shadow of the Tomb Raider, if you want deeper thoughts on the story, the start of things, check out my previous video from the reveal event. Thanks for watching. Special thanks to my Twitch and Patreon supporters for making these videos possible. If you'd like to get your name on the Rikers Raiders 2018 t-shirt or poster, you have until the end of August to do so. Instructions on how to do that can be found on Patreon. If you enjoyed this video, please share it, check out these other videos, and subscribe to join Rikers Raiders for more gaming content.